him wasted in the saddle. He comes riding through your town. He's wearing yesterday's misfortunes like a smile. Once he had a future full of money, love, and dreams, but he spent like it was going out of style. But he just keeps on believing that for better or for worse, he's searching for a shrine he's never found. Never knowing if believing is a lesson or a curse, or if going up is worth coming down. He's a poet and a picker, he's a prophet and a pusher, he's a pilgrim and a preacher, and a problem when he's stoned. He's this walking contradiction, partly truth and partly fiction. He's taken every wrong direction on a lonely road back home. He has tasted good and evil in the bedrooms and the bars. He's traded in tomorrows for today. He's running from his demons and he's reaching for the stars, leaving everything he's loved along the way. And the world just keeps on turning, so for better or for worse, all he ever gets is older and around. From the rocking of his cradle to the rolling of the hearse, going up's not worth coming down. But he's a poet and a picker, he's a prophet and a pusher, he's a pilgrim and a preacher, and a problem when he's stoned. He's this walking contradiction, partly truth, he's partly fiction. He's taken every wrong direction on a lonely road back home. Welcome, pilgrims. We know that you're weary. God knows I'm fucking weary of traversing this world, which has truly gone batshit crazy insane. The internet is a morass of misinformation and disinformation, AI bots and AI images and videos. Discerning the truth becomes harder every day. The talking heads are shysters, shoosters, snake oil salesmen. Buy me a coffee, be my Patreon, give me a good living. I don't care how fucking you're living. But somehow, either by accident or design, you found your way here this afternoon. So come on in. Have a seat at my campfire while you still can. Pour yourself an adult beverage, and I'd make it a very large one today. Roll yourself a smoke of something warm and brown and golden to get you through this day. Because by the time we're finished, God knows you're going to need it. The lone gunman is going to ride again. Alex Glenn, happy Palm Sunday. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. I've got me adult beverage ready to go after I get onto my tea. And it is what it is at the moment, but personally, on a personal level, I'm doing fine.
Yeah.
Good.
I'm happy to be indoors on a day like this. It's blowing a gale and lashing down raining, and I'd far rather be round the campfire with you two amigos, sorry, because we are the two amigos.
Unless you're steam double. Well, guys, Palm Sunday. Look what I found. Aha! Because I'm packing up the house. And I honestly couldn't remember what I'd done with these. Um, and I was clearing out the cupboard under the stairs. And I'd obviously thrown these in a box somewhere. That's my degree from Glasgow University for ministry. Yeah. This is my one from Florida State University, Logos Christian College in theology, biblical studies. And this is a special award I got for being Ducks of the Year. Couldn't find my psychology one, but that was Open University. I did it when I was in prison. That's probably why. But there you are. See? Partly truth, partly fiction everywhere. So, on this Palm Sunday, the Prince of Peace rode on a symbol of peace, a donkey, into Jerusalem, through the streets to the temple, and people threw palms and flowers in his path. Well, that same route today is full of bomb craters and falling missiles and burning buildings. That's where we're at. So let me start with this. An old saying, it was Bismarck who it's accredited to, the great German chancellor, warrior, general. He said, the Russians are slow to saddle, but swift to ride. Why do I say that? We've been focusing, obviously, and rightly, on what's happening in the Middle East. So's Russia, so's China. Now, there's been reports out of Moscow, really it's the talking head class, about dissatisfaction with Putin's prosecution of the war in Ukraine. That was partly truth, partly fiction. Putin's personal popularity rating is still sky high. His approval ratings are still sky high. What is very true is the following three things. First, Nabulev, who's head of the central bank in Russia, had promised, and Putin had promised, that there would be no recession in Russia. Despite all the sanctions, despite everything else, there would be no recession, except in January, the Russian economy contracted. But that contraction was not due to external factors like the sanctions. It was actually due to Nabulev, however you want to call her, not lowering the interest rates fast enough. Russia's economy is fine, but people do, in any country, they react to the economy. In Russia, especially, Russia remembers the 90s and Russia doesn't want to go back. Bit like the Chinese. The Chinese believe that their leader, whoever that is, whether it be the emperor or Xi Jinping, has to have a mandate from heaven. And how do you know if he's got a mandate from heaven? Well, if things are good and there's plenty of food, that's all right then. So that's the first thing. The second thing was Russia attempted to shut down Telegram too hard and too fast. Telegram, and of course, was originally a Russian platform, but has been overtaken and is used. It's a messaging and platform, and it's being used by the Ukrainians to recruit in Russia. It was one of the last real problems that the Russian government had. And it's tried to move everyone onto a new platform that has been created completely within Russia and within the Russian intranet. Because if you remember, Russia is cut off from the worldwide internet, it's got its own intranet. And that's caused mass unrest. It's even caused divisions within the ministries of the Kremlin. Because the Ministry of Defense, for instance, has a huge Telegram channel and continues to operate. So does the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The State Duma has openly, denounced the slowing down of Telegram. People like the social media, even if you're Russian, I guess. And then the third thing. The Russians, who have long been arguing that Putin needs to go harder and faster in Ukraine and re-establish Russian deterrence by attacking the people supplying Ukraine, they are now watched Iran for 3 weeks blow the shit out of Israel, blow the shit out of American bases, blow the shit out of American aircraft carriers, blow the shit out of American airplanes. And they're saying to Putin, who has tried to manage the escalation, who didn't want to start a world war with America. But they're saying to Putin, if fucking Iran can do it and America has no answer, why the fuck aren't you? And then you add in that over the last few days, Ukraine's gone, by the way, people. Ukraine is fucked. Russia is now carpet bombing. It's taking out every locomotive. That means troops can't move, arms can't move. But that won't matter because Ukraine's out of diesel fucking within 2 days. No diesel, no trucks, no trains, nothing. De nada. Never mind the fact that the US is stripping Ukraine of whatever little meager air defense it's got left, or the Middle East. And that any arms supplies that were headed to Ukraine, that's kabooey now too. And in the meantime, it's an early spring, and Russia is preparing a huge, big red arrow advance. Okay. But in the last few days, what we, the Brits, MI5-6, have been doing, aided and abetted by the fucking Americans, is in the middle of a world fuel crisis, we have been attempting to hit Russian refineries. We've blown up a few storage units. Thankfully, we haven't fucking hit the refineries. Because before very long, the entire fucking world is going to need every drop of fucking fuel that Russia can pump. And then, in the middle of a fertilizer crisis, and this is now planting season in Southern Europe. In a couple of weeks, it will be planting season here in Northern Europe. We've been blowing the fuck out of Russian fertilizer plants. And here's the kicker. How have we been doing it? Well, either some kind of fucking unknown drone has been developed by the Ukraine Nazis that can fly thousands of miles, or drones have been launched from fucking Estonia and Poland and Latvia, Lithuania. And they're flying from those airspaces into St. Petersburg. Putin doesn't want war. Putin is not a warmonger. In fact, he's had anything from that. And whilst his own popularity still remains strong, he is also very aware. And if you look at his track record, there comes a point when he will give in to the popular demands of the Russian people and will go stronger, go harder, hit these Baltic fucking chihuahuas, maybe hit Germany, maybe hit the UK. That's what's coming. And that's before I start talking about the fucking Gulf. Alex, that's, no biggie then. No fucking biggie.
No, no, nothing to worry about there. Problem is, it's got a potential to play into their hands, which is what everything that they do, because they've been trying to push the narrative that Ukraine's only the first step, then he's going to go after the rest of Europe. And I saw earlier one of the newspapers now, Ukraine's been the shield of Europe. It's the shield of NATO. It's now time to make it the sword of NATO. And this sort of rhetoric, if he responds to them attacking from what you like to call the cities pretending to be countries, the Estonias, the Latvias, the Lithuanias of this world, they will use that to push the idea, oh, he's expanding his eyes beyond Ukraine. He's now going after the rest of Europe. And it will play to their rhetoric and to their propaganda. Not that it will make a difference on the ground and the results on the ground, because there's absolutely nothing they can do any more than Ukraine can do anymore. Ukraine, who's got to the point of trying to redraft everybody who's escaped. So,
yes, no, it's, and even if in their wildest wet dream they achieved regime change in Russia, here's the problem they've got, and it's the same as Donald fucking Orange Duck has just learned in Iran. If you kill the guy who's the moderate, you're going to get someone a whole lot more fucking hardline. And my money right now would be on Medvedev. And if you don't know what Medvedev thinks, fuck me, I post it enough. Glenn, what could possibly go wrong?
Yeah. The situation is very similar in both cases. It's similar with Russia and it's similar with Iran. They have shown the West and America and Britain and all the fuckwit NATO allies that they have something that nobody expected them to have, and that is resilience and planning and the ability to cope with whatever is thrown their way. Iran has got an in-depth structure. It doesn't matter if you take out, a layer of leadership. There's another layer, and there's another layer, and there's another layer, right down to locally diffused layers. So this is unexpected. This is not, in terms of Iran, this is not like any of the countries that America and Israel have come up against before. And in terms of Russia, you're absolutely correct. There is a seething cauldron beneath what appears to be the calm surface of Putin that would willingly spill over and actually do the things that we're all so frightened of. And Putin has been the hand of restraint and all this nonsensical talk that has been going on for several years now of Russia wanting to storm its way across all the way to the English Channel. It's nonsense. It always was nonsense. And yeah, but it could be a reality if they fucking wanted to. If the forces that are behind Putin, waiting in the wings, actually got their hands on power, then you could see a major Russian push. But we just don't realize it. We're too busy nailing our own feet to the deck so that we can't even reach any potential oil, so.
Well, yeah, I mean, we'll circle back to our fuckwits here in the UK in a second, but another similarity, if you like, Glenn. We heard for the first 2 weeks of the conflict in the Middle East that Iran was running out of missiles. It was, they'd blown up all the launchers. It's running out of missiles, running out of drones. Look, the amount of attacks are going down day by day by day, just like every fucking week in 2022 and into 2023. The Russians were running out of missiles. They were having to cannibalize washing machines for fucking microchips, for fuck's sake. They were fighting with shovels in Bakhmut. Well, just today, Iran has launched at least 4 waves of missiles into Israel. The reason you're not getting pictures of Tel Aviv is Tel Aviv starting to fucking resemble Gaza, and I shit you not. They're attacking Iranian nuclear facilities. So Iran is attacking Israel's Dimona. They're attacking Iranian schools and universities. So Iran has said, bye-bye all Israeli universities, bye-bye all American-backed universities in the region. The UAE just did something very disastrous. They just seized $500 million worth of Iranian assets. Or sorry, $500 billion worth of Iranian assets. I'd give them back right now. But no, UAE, you're so far up the fucking Oompa Loompa's ass that you declared war. If you're in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, get out now. Now. Because these cities won't cease to exist. Iran is about to start hitting vital infrastructure, including desalination. Bahrain is falling in real time. And the leaders, these family fucking cartels that have run these countries on behalf of the West, they're falling like dominoes. Saudi sent its security forces, all of whom, by the way, are not Saudi Arabian, they're fucking mercenaries, mostly from places like Pakistan, to try and put down the uprising in Bahrain. Not working. Bahrain belongs to Iraq. So does Kuwait. And the Iraqi militias are on the march, the Iraqi army with them. They took Kuwait in days last time. I don't even think it'll take that long this time. The UAE, the Saudi, really, belongs to Yemen and Oman. and the Houthis are on the march. In fact, the Houthis say they're willing to march all the way to fucking Israel. You've got the Pashtun of Pakistan, those tribes in the mountains, who just met with the Iranian ambassador and said, there's millions of us ready, willing, and able. Just give us the word and we'll march. um, and in the midst of all of that, Iran said, if you attempt to invade us, we're going to take the UAE and we're going to take these other places. And into this maelstrom, well, Kim Jong-un is willing to send millions of troops as well. Sorry, forgot to say. I'm sure Indonesia is. And we just saw the largest protests against any sitting president ever in the United States. There was literally tens of millions of people demonstrating in every city, every town in the United States. But into this clusterfuck, Trump's about to attempt to put American troops. Not just any American troops, the creme de la creme. All America's special forces have been deployed to the Middle East. That's all your Delta forces, all your Rangers, all your Green Berets, all your SEAL teams. They're all being deployed. About 2,000 of them. That's 2,000 body bags. And then you've got your elite Marine Expeditionary Unit moves. And then you've got your 82nd Airborne 101st Screaming Eagles. Well, now, the Pentagon, which is making it happen to go along, by the way, they just issued an urgent fucking request for any country that can supply prefabbed fucking shelters, bomb shelters, to be deployed with their ground forces. There's no easy way in to Iran. There's no easy way for them to open the Straits of Hormuz. This is going to be the clusterfuck of all clusterfucks. But it's going to trigger other events. Everyone could turn against the US and Israel. And when I say everyone, I mean Turkey. I mean Pakistan. I mean Indonesia. I mean everyone. The destruction across the region on Palm Sunday is about to get fucking biblical. Glenn, do you what do you think? Do you agree, disagree?
Yeah. I'm just looking kind of around the region in my head geographically. I mean, Bahrain's king has already scuttled off to Saudi Arabia, like the rat that leaves a sinking ship. People fucking hate him in Bahrain. I did some training with the Bahraini Defense Force. There isn't a single Bahraini in the Bahraini Defense Force. They're all they're all foreigners. They're all either Bangladeshis or some Pakistanis. It's just a very small force, you know. They're not going to stand against. They like all these countries, like the UAE. They hid behind America's shield, believing that they were safe. Well, America's shown these countries that they weren't. America wasn't there to defend them. It wasn't there to defend them. It was there to defend its own interests and the interests of Israel. And the entire what America and Israel are trying to do to Iran does differ in a couple of ways. That the Israelis want to severely weaken Iran. They want to break it up. They want to, you know, make it into these warring little states that are easily controlled. America, it'll go along with that, but it's really interested in the resources, in the oil, in retaking what it once had access to. The future for the UAE, the future for all of these little kingdoms, and you're right to say that they are basically little countries that are run by single families. They're in the thrall of these families. Their future is extremely uncertain because, again, none of them are particularly popular, and a bit like the rainmaker, they're only popular if they make it rain, and there ain't no rain at the minute except a rain of missiles. So regionally, the whole thing is in a melting pot. The shape of what the region will look like after this war may be very different indeed, I think. And if Iran really want to get serious about this, they should take out the desalination plants that Israel relies on. If they took the desalination plants out, they would certainly turn Israel into Gaza. They would have to queue up for water and have a taste of what the Gazans once felt. So, you know, they are still vulnerable, very, very vulnerable. And if the pictures that I've seen now, and as you said, you can't always rely on what's coming out because a lot of it's AI rubbish. But if some of the footage is correct, Tel Aviv is starting exactly like you said to resemble parts of Gaza, and it'll only get worse.
Well, I've heard the same reports that Andrew Smith has, and as yet they are unconfirmed. Wouldn't surprise me. Timetable's a little bit off, I think, but wouldn't surprise me. And Israel's got its own problems, Glenn. We've got the head of the IDF saying the IDF's about to collapse. You've got Benjamin Netanyahu, be he alive or dead, and I'm still not convinced he's alive, saying that AI Benjamin, that's what I'm going to call him, AI Benjamin Netanyahu, is saying they're going to call up another 400,000 reservists. Well, those reservists are ripping up their papers in the streets of Tel Aviv when it's not raining missiles and saying, not me, I ain't going. They haven't defeated Hamas in Gaza. They're still getting their asses kicked in Gaza. And then Hezbollah, that they destroyed, well, that's fighting them to a fucking grinding halt in southern Lebanon. And they're being very... The Merkava tank is obsolete. Don't think there can be many of them left. They're trying to punch in with fucking armored columns because Israelis don't like to be out in the open when they do their killing. They like to be sat in nice little cockpits when no one's shooting at them. They like to be in their armored personnel carriers and their tanks. Well, Hezbollah have a brilliant tactic. They blow up the fucking first tank in the column. They blow up the last tank in the column simultaneously. And then they set about systematically going along, blowing the rest of the fucking column to pieces. American deaths are far higher than has been reported as well. Alex, it's not looking good, is it?
It's not, and I don't see how it gets any better, because if they are about to send small numbers comparatively of troops on the ground into these places, anyway they're coming back out on their feet. And you've got to ask what the motivation behind that is, because they have to, or at least the military minds have to know that. Are they literally trying to create so much outrage at the death of American military personnel that they think they can get the people of America behind a ground campaign? Because if they're not, then they are either really, really badly advised or desperate to the point of complete desperation.
Well, yeah. The thing is that most people, even maybe people watching us today, think, oh, that's all very interesting, but it's still all very far away. And yeah, I'm paying more at the petrol pump for my fucking petrol, but it's okay. My lights are still on. My gas central heating's still fucking working. I can still go down to the supermarket and pick up. It's getting more expensive, but I can pick up the shit I want. I can still phone Uber Eats and get my takeaway. I can still fucking go to Amazon and get my next day fucking delivery of whatever fucking cheap shite I want. Well. I called the show. The final countdown. 3 weeks. The reason Trump first said we're going to pause for 5 days on striking Iran's energy infrastructure, and then went, actually, we're going to make that 10 because we're such good guys. Now, Israel's ignoring that, by the way, and they're still striking. And Iran's like, we don't give a fuck who's striking. We told you what would happen. But the reason Trump made it 10 days, might as well call it 2 weeks, is because all of their naval assets are out of interceptor missiles. All of them in rotation are having to go to port to be reloaded. Can only be done in port because they're tubular. That's going to take about 2 weeks. For the other Marine Expeditionary Units to be in place on Boxer, etc., that's still going to be 10 days, 2 weeks. For them to start moving significant number of main line troops with tanks, with equipment, into the region, attempting to stage them. Oh, and by the way, that's not going to be an easy feat, because Iran is getting ISR from Russia and China. So when they see groups of fucking troops being mobilized, they're sending in missiles and blowing the fuck out of them. Everything says 2 weeks to me, 10 days to 2 weeks before the balloon really goes up. Now, Trump will lie through his teeth. He'll attempt to keep the oil market suppressed. But when, not if, when this futile ground invasion happens, it's all over. If Trump was to capitulate today and say, okay, we'll meet all of your demands, Iran, it would still take, right now, 18 months to 2 years for things to get back to normal. There would still be a massive energy shock. There would still be a massive food shock. After those boots go on the ground, it's game over. So soon people are going to care because soon football's not coming home, baby. Something else is, and it ain't food. Alex, why don't you kick us off with an update on economics and then we can add some more.
Yeah, okay. Well, it's been a slightly different week this week, but it's been controlled and deliberate, and it started with Trump's 5-day announcement and the markets responding to it. So what you've seen on Brent is you've seen it go right down, and a lot of people make a lot of money. A lot of Trump's friends make a lot of money by it going down, but you've seen it go down and then you've seen it come right back up to where it was. So we're not looking so far ahead of where we were last week, but we are looking right back to where we are. So I haven't got the Brent figures up front. But I've had people in our audience still sending me through the petrol figures. And petrol and diesel, first one is diesel, are not doing that down and up, unsurprisingly, because the price at the pump never does go down. So this is Australia. And this is it. This is the price of diesel in Australia over the last 2 weeks. And you see it slows down in the middle. That's when the markets close. But you also see the jump on every Friday, preparing for when the markets close. And so they can make a bit on the weekend to a certain degree. But this is Australia. This is unleaded in Australia. I did have figures on the premium, the 95 and the 98 from Australia. I haven't done them as graphs, mainly because by about 3 days ago, they've are irrelevant and they're starting to disappear because premium 95 and premium 98 in Australia is starting to disappear, as in it's not available anymore. They're already running out of. US is a bit different. US has been a little bit more stable because, of course, they think they're isolated. But if they're isolated, why are we still seeing the rises? US unleaded, a bit more all over the place. But look at the start point still and look at the end point, even if you ignore the bit in the middle. Now, the thing with US prices, and I imagine there's a certain almost pressure from centrally when Trump suddenly announces his 5-day and the markets fall, you find the prices at the pump actually are falling in the US. But of course, they're still going to come, and they are already. You have that uptick turning back up. This is Scotland, and it starts, beginning part of last week, it started a bit flat, but then after that, we're seeing rises. And again, it's on the way up again, not gradually, but starting to speed up. And this is unleaded. And if you look at the jump in unleaded at the middle of the week, it suddenly shoots right up. But putting them together, this is across the globe, and these are the prices of diesel. And to put them together, to avoid any currency confusion, I've done it as a percentage of the price. And this isn't the price when this started. This is the price from 2 weeks ago, when it was already, Brent was already soaring. And as I said something about Australia, I don't know if it's before we started, at least you're not in Australia prices-wise, because Australia percentage-wise is topping out everybody and continuing to climb. UK's climbing and continuously climbing. It's following a similar pattern to Australia. And I don't have the last 2 days on UK figures, so it could be that it's almost up there now. US been a bit more flatter, but still that upward direction of travel. And unleaded is a bit more all over the place in the US, but it's up on the UK and Australia. But this is where we take it into account, because the UK government have still been trying to put the message out, oh, it's the fuel companies trying to make money. They've still been trying to pass that buck. Well, this is Brent against those rising. And yes, okay, it's continued to rise, especially in Australia, when Brent dipped at the beginning of the week on Trump's 5-day announcement. But look at the end point. The end point, the percentage increase in the US and Scotland matches the percentage increase of Brent by the end. Australia is up above. Australia is basic supply and demand. There isn't the petrol in Australia, the diesel in Australia to keep the prices at the increase of Brent. And when the rest of us start running out in the same way that the rest of Australia, and admittedly, I'm taking one set of figures from Australia, it could vary region to region. It could and does vary region to region in the UK and doubtless in the US. But when the UK starts running out, you're going to see the climb to match Australia. When the US starts running out, you're going to see that climb. But the top percentage increase from, and this, as I say, is only from 2 weeks ago, because that's when I started taking figures on Brent, lines up perfectly above the top end of the prices of certainly Scotland and the US, and certainly the middle point in Australia. So look at the Australian graph. Don't say it's over there, because look at that Australian graph as the other countries start running out and stocks start getting low. We're going to see that graph in all the other countries, and you're going to see a rise in petrol at the pumps that is 10% at the moment in Australia, 20, 30, 40 as it goes on, above the rise in crude. And if crude keeps rising, then you're going to see an exponential curve. I want to start trying to see how the prices change on staples that we buy, the breads, the milks, the food stocks, the other things that are affected by the oil price. But figures, like everything on these things, statistics lag behind the action. So unless somebody wants to volunteer to send me bread prices every day, it might take a week or two to see where we are. But where we are is less for your pound, less for your dollar, less for your Australian dollar, less for whatever currency you have. Less food on the table, less travel, less everything. And the only thing that will grow is restrictions.
I love that, Alex. It's a nice little, simple, screenshot of where we're headed. And people in the chat aren't getting it. Roy James, I have no problem in Western Australia finding diesel. Good, Roy. That's today, mate. Give it a week or two. Other people saying, we've no food shortages or water shortages in Canada. Great. Canada's got some shale oil. But you're not isolated. America's not isolated from any of this. Here in this United Kingdom, we're actually at the tip of the spear. So Alex, Glenn, let's talk a little bit about our fuckwits in power. Never hear queers regime. Well, right now they're pumping out the message. Just keep going to the pump, don't worry. I can't eat a fucking bacon sandwich, Ed Miliband, but some fucking lunatic put me in charge of net zero. He's slobbering on about not just closing our refineries, but lunacy policies. Lunacy policies. They know this is coming. And yet, they're barely preparing the public. Now, there are some mainstream news organizations which are beating a drum, talking about the coming rationing of fuel, talking about energy lockdowns, talking about rolling blackouts. The government's doing fuck all. And just so you know how fucked up we are, here in Scotland, the islands are virtually cut off. 6 of the fucking ferries that are the lifeline to the fucking islands, run by the Scottish government, are Kaputski, including the brand new Glen Sannox built just down the road at fucking Port Glasgow. Kaputski. We are fucked beyond recognition in this country, Glenn, are we not?
Yeah. There are so many points in what Alex raised and what you just said. Australia is in a very vulnerable position. Australia has no refineries. None. There are no refineries in Australia.
Or New Zealand.
Or New Zealand, yeah. Meaning they've got to import refined products from elsewhere. So they're already on top of a premium because of that imported refinery. And that makes them extremely vulnerable. Here in the UK, now bearing in mind, we are now just about a month in, aren't we? We're about a month into this conflict, and already you've got the voices saying, "Oh, we have to think about rationing. We have to think about imposing all these measures, less driving, more public transport." Imagine what that's going to be like in 3 months. Imagine what that's going to be like in 6 months. In 6 months, you won't be able to buy a litre of fuel, even if you've got £1,000 in your pocket. There will be no fuel at the pumps because there won't be any available. I went to top up only the other day, and the petrol station I go to has 8 lanes, 4 double lanes. 3 of them are closed. No fuel. So, and this is after a month. The situation that we're facing is far more dire, far more stark than what the government would allow wants you to think. But the one thing that they haven't done is do anything about trying to help out the motorist, help out business. Look, by saying something like, "Oh, we're temporarily suspending fuel duty," which is, I don't know what percentage, about 40% of the cost of your fuel is fuel duty. Perhaps they might, if they had anything about them, but no, they have fuckwits in charge, fuckwits like Miliband, who don't want you to drive, who don't want you. They want you all to fly around on wind-powered skateboards, for fuck's sake. God knows, I don't know. How can business operate like that? Everything that reaches the shops reaches there by lorry. And every one of those lorries uses diesel. because you can't run electric lorries properly. It just doesn't work. Electric wagons or electric rigs, whatever you want to call them. Tesla tried it and it was a failure. So it is what it is. And if we end up in fuel rationing, then it's you and me and the ordinary people who are going to be restricted. And this is coming. This is inevitably coming because, like Ian said, if the infrastructure in the Gulf is destroyed, to rebuild that infrastructure and get everything back to where we were before this war started is going to take a year, 18 months, who knows? And all that time, where are we going to get our fuel from? Where are we going to get the lifeblood that this and every other developed country runs on? So we are facing a stark time ahead, I think.
Well, I mean, as I say, we've got Roy James saying that, that Australia's got 2 refineries. Oh, well, my information's wrong.
My information's wrong.
And, good luck to you then, Australia.
You've got to have oil to refine, though, haven't you?
Well, yeah.
Oh, well, they've got their own Alex that apparently that they're, they'll be fine. Australia will be fine. And that's part of what's going on at the moment. It's, I'm all right, Jack, fuck you. And that's what countries are going to start doing. It's not looking great, Alex, is it?
No. And the bit people are missing here, or the other bit, there's plenty of bits that people are missing here, but they're talking about fuel rationing. And the first thing they're going to do is stop the average man on the street, tell them they can work from home. It'll be kept for the last minute for your deliveries. Only it's not your deliveries. Your Amazon drivers, your Deliveroos, your Just Eats, they're not logistics companies. They're the man on the street with his family car delivering. It's not just going to be you not being able to go out. You or your equivalent is the person delivering your supplies from Amazon. It's not going to be the COVID scenario where it's not, if it's a lockdown, it's not even going to be that sense of a lockdown. You're not going to be getting half the things you could have sat at home and ordered before. You can't order in your pizza because it's a normal guy in a normal car on a normal moped. You might not even you might get your post, but you're not going to get you're not going to get the Everys of this world. You're not going to get the Herms is Every, but the other ones. You're not going to get those people that rely on normal people as their drivers. It's the first thing that's going to be stopped.
Rural communities are going to be fucked. Okay, let's spell it fucking right out, and then I'll unleash Glenn to inform you on oil and oil production. We are already in a depression, not a recession, a depression. An economic depression which will make the 1929 stock market collapse look like a baby's toy. Mass unemployment is coming. It's not here yet, but it's coming, and it's coming soon. When, and I'm talking within weeks, people, 3 weeks at max, when they start to bring in fuel rationing, that's the start of a very slippery fucking slope. That's when emergency planning kicks in. That's when they have to start to prioritize diesel supplies for agriculture, for logistics, for distributing whatever food there is and for public transport. Normal car drivers are going to be told to stay off the road. You will be told to work from home if you can. Glenn, I think you painted the perfect picture on Friday night when you talked about how easy you can see how it goes. You start with rationing of fuel and fuel lockdowns, rolling blackouts. They're all coming within weeks. And then after that, other things need to be rationed, like food. So how do you keep track of all these things? Well, that digital ID that none of us wanted, that's how they do it. And then you're trapped in your 15-minute city because you won't be able to travel. And I hope these people in the comments that say, we've no shortages here. I'm all right, Jack. I hope they come back to me in 3 weeks' time to tell me it's still the fucking same. Now, it's springtime in Alaska. There's an old song, when it's springtime in Alaska, it's 18 below. It's spring here in Scotland. It feels like 18 below, but it is spring. My heating's still on. We're lucky enough that while we can afford it before we become homeless, that'll be the case. Lots of people can't have their heat. And that's our starting point. We were already, unless you've forgotten, in a cost of living crisis before all this fucking happened. Soon, the cost of food until the government steps in to ration. So that's how it works. The cost of food is going to go up so steeply that the average person is not going to be able to feed their family. Hungry people do desperate things. And when the fertilizer is also being priced out of the market, what little is coming. Because, Roy, Russia thinks a bit like Australia and it thinks, fuck it. We ain't exporting our diesel until our farming is done because our people come first. We ain't giving any other cunt fucking fertilizer until our crops are fertilized because our people are going to eat. Come harvest, there is going to be worldwide food shortages. Now I'm going to open this up for a discussion in a second. But what do you think hungry people are going to do? And what do you think hungry people who are seeing, I don't know, immigrants in asylum hotels being fed by the government, what do you think they're going to do when they see their kids starving and the flesh falling off their bones What are they going to do? Because they will spill blood. And then that's here in the so-called first world. Imagine what's going to be happening. Well, I don't know. Sub-Saharan Africa, Asia, India, and millions, if not billions, of those people might think they've got a better chance for survival in Europe, in the United Kingdom. You think the asylum wave has been bad up to now? Oh, Jesus. Imagine 1 billion people on the march because they're starving and what they'd be willing to do. So, Alex Glenn, tell me I'm a raving fucking lunatic, Glenn. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, you know, there will be people, and there always are people out there who are saying, "Oh, look, you know, it's not going to get that bad. It's not. You're just being a doom monger. You're just instilling fear into people." Believe you me, your own governments are thinking this way. They have got plans in place, and they've always had plans in place. We are unbelievably vulnerable. We are unbelievably vulnerable in this modern world. And places like Britain and places like Australia that import a vast amount of their food are not going to get that food if the ships that bring that food can't fill up, can't be a modern tanker ship, a modern container ship uses tons of fuel a minute virtually. They use a lot of fuel. It costs a lot of money to get your food to your table. And that's not even including the logistics when it arrives at the ports. All of that infrastructure has to work, and all of that infrastructure relies on fuel. And if that fuel is not there, those products, those goods, that food, whatever it is, will not make it, will not get to your table, will not get, you will not be out there on the shelves to buy. Go to your local supermarket next time you go shopping and pick something up. Now, a lot of supermarkets disguise where things come from. They just put their own brand on it. But if you look on a lot of things, you can see it will be products of here, products of there, products of Kenya, product of somewhere in South America, all your coffee, things like that, product of anywhere in the world. When all that stops moving, because there is no fuel, then it really starts to bite. And what you're left with is what we can grow here. And that's precious little, really. Our farming industry has been decimated. And we grow a lot of things actually for export. So we are facing a real crisis if this thing keeps going on. And just like I said before, we are 1 month in. We are 1 month into this debacle. Imagine where that's going to be if this war drags on for 6 months, and it has every possibility of doing that. A year. How long did Afghanistan go on for? 20 years? 21 years? How long did Vietnam go on for? Think about that. Bogged down in another endless war, but this time it's not just people who will be dying over there. It will start to affect people everywhere in the world because there will be hardly any fuel flowing. And those countries that do have fuel, like Russia, Putin has already said that he will be looking to whom he can have good relationships with. Those countries who are reliable, those countries who have not stabbed him in the back, have not stabbed Russia in the back. and we ain't one of them. We are the opposite of that, and so is all of Europe. So we are at the back of the queue.
Glenn, the truth is that in Russia, that simmering hatred that you talked about earlier, 99% of it, it's not the Baltic fucking chihuahuas. They're a nothing. It's not Finland. It's not that they can fucking wipe out in minutes. It's not even the Nazis in fucking Germany or in the EU. We, Britain, we're the most fucking hated by the Russians.
Yeah.
My, what a wonderful time to be alive. I can foresee actually a time when they introduced forced labor to go to the farms to be used to manually try and plow fields, to manually plant fucking whatever we can. Dig for victory, World War II here again.
We're a lot better off then agriculturally.
We were. People knew what to do. Alex, economically, I mean, between AI and this, and we're in World War III. And so, Glenn, there's another problem. If we're heading into World War III, there's an awful lot of countries, an awful lot of submarines that can fucking sink. Ships carrying fuel, ships carrying food. If they're not going to the country that, you know. Alex, economically, just, I mean, how bad can you see things getting?
I don't see how it turns around. I can't see any way of it turning around. Now, hopefully I'm missing something, but I just can't see a change of direction. I can see if we took a best case scenario, you might see a leveling out, but that leveling out will be at a level that's beyond the price affordable by the average man in the street. We're already seeing videos coming out of people fighting over fuel in India. I don't know how widespread, but we're already seeing this sort of video coming out. People will lose their shit. And the people that are sitting in people that listen to what's going on, know what we've been saying for weeks and months and years, are denying it. What is the man in the street that doesn't listen to anything other than the BBC going to do? What if we got people denying it that were laying the figures and facts in front of? What are the people that aren't seeing this information thinking? And when that suddenly hits them, people will lose their shit. And it's they say 9 days without 9 meals away from chaos. Sorry, not 9 days, 9 meals away from chaos. People have, from the start of COVID, we can do this and we've got this supplies and we've got our own and we'll have our own little community. You can't have that isolationism unless you have a way to protect it. And there isn't a semi, a detached, a flat, a house in many of our normal towns that you could defend like you could a castle in the old days. You've only got to look at World War II. It wasn't just the front lines, and World War I. The deaths on the front lines was one thing. The deaths in the places that were taken through starvation and through lack of supplies getting through dwarf the casualties on the front line. We're looking there again.
People in the chat are talking about voting. There will be no voting. There will be no voting. There will be complete societal collapse. Glenn, why don't you go ahead and tell us a bit about oil production and
Yeah.
why it's not just a case of switching the tap back on, please?
Well, sort of. I thought I'd, in a way, look at attitudes. I'd look at perhaps why we're in the situation that we're in right now, the kind of backstory to it, and a lot of that is to do with attitude. All right, so obviously with the outbreak of this illegal war, this fucking stupid war that Netanyahu and Trump cooked up between them, attention has naturally focused, like we've all been talking about, on the Straits of Hormuz. Now, I'm not going to show you a map of the Straits of Hormuz, because if you don't know where the fuck that is right now, you've been living under a rock. Okay, so it doesn't matter. But let's say around about, if you combine oil and gas together, you're looking around about 40% of the world's oil and gas passes through that narrow strip. Okay, and now it's mostly closed. There are a few exceptions, but it ain't for us. Okay, now the US has bombed Iran's oil export facilities on Karg Island, and it's now, like we've just been saying, and like that's been brewing for a few weeks now, it looks like they're going to go for a ground invasion. Whether that be there, whether that be somewhere else, it's uncertain. But behind today's war lies a much deeper story. And it's a story, when I've talked about oil in the rest of the world, that is repeated again and again and again. And there's a story behind Iran's oil. Now, Iran sits on one of the world's biggest oil reserves. It's the third largest proven oil reserve, to be precise. Slide 1, please, Alex. I don't know if you can actually see that. It's a bit pale, but it's surpassed by Canada and it's surpassed by Saudi Arabia at the present, although some consider that Venezuela has more. So it might be a little bit further down the table. But the vast majority of Iran's oil reserves are easily accessible. They're not hard to get at. They're not hard to extract. And so that makes the extraction process relatively inexpensive compared to having to drill really deep wells and things like that. So this has put Iran at the heart of global oil supply. Most of Iran's oil goes to China. A vast proportion of it goes to China. Now, the story of Iran's oil, and this is where we have to go back in history. The story of Iran's oil begins in about 1908, when there were surveys sent out. And we can see a picture of one of those surveys. At slide 2, please, Alex. There we go. There were surveys that were sent out that were financed by a British Australian businessman called William Knox Darcy, same as Mr. Darcy. And they discovered oil in the foothills of the Zagros Mountains in southwest Persia, as it was then. Now, in order to exploit this oil, an oil company was formed called the Anglo-Persian Oil Company. And that company was formed in 1909. And this company later went on to change its name eventually to British Petroleum, BP. Now, within a few years, this company had constructed a 200-kilometer pipeline network and a vast oil refinery complex which was the biggest in the world at the time, at a place called Abadan Island. Slide 3, please, Alex. And this is what that refinery, that production used to look like. You can see by the style of the ships that this is early days. Okay, sorry about the copyright, as everything's fucking copyrighted these days, but forget about that. Okay. Now, they built that on the Shat Al Arab River, which is around about 33 miles, 53 kilometers inland from the Persian Gulf. Now, this refinery was, and actually still remains, the largest in Iran, this oil processing facility. From Abadan, tankers transported the oil, the refined oil and petroleum products through the Straits of Hormuz to the global markets. Now, to acquire the rights to Persia's oil, Darcy had actually negotiated a concession with the then Shah, the then Shah of Persia. And he negotiated a contract for the rights to prospect for oil in Persia. And for those rights, he paid the Shah £20,000, which is around about £2 million in today's money. And this gave the Anglo-Persian Oil Company exclusive rights to prospect and extract oil for 60 years. And the Shah then also received £20,000 in shares of the company. So no one in Iran actually benefited apart from the Shah. He was the sole beneficiary of the oil being discovered. And the company gave him a promise of 16% of the company's profits. Now, Anglo-Persian Oil remained the sole company allowed to extract Persian oil. But by 1913, the British Navy had almost completed its conversion of its ships from coal to oil. Now, although Britain had vast reserves of coal, oil offered the Navy's ships greater range for the tonnage of fuel that they carried. And at this time, Winston Churchill was the First Lord of the Admiralty. And here's Churchill when he was First Lord of the Admiralty. Back in his younger days, there he is. But Churchill wanted Britain to have secure oil supplies for Britain's ships and not be reliant on the American Standard Oil Company or the Royal Dutch Shell Oil Company, which owned large proportions of the world's discovered oil. And so Britain started to inject capital into the Anglo-Persian Oil Company, and it became the largest shareholder and the controlling interest in that company. So in essence, Britain took over the Persian oil, the Anglo-Persian Oil Company. And this gave British battleships, British warships, all the oil they needed during World War I. And this contract carried on for another 20 years after that. Now, Britain then went on to acquire large shares in other oil companies, such as the Turkish Petroleum Company and the Iraqi Petroleum Company. So Britain had a very good stranglehold on oil. But that's another story, really, the story of these other companies, because we're focusing on Iran. But it can be said that from 1914 onwards, Iranian oil was at the center of Britain's industrial and military power. And it was the fuel that really powered the empire. Now, when Britain took over the Anglo-Persian Oil Company, it changed the name to British Petroleum, BP. And that name is still around today. Now, after World War I, BP shifted its focus from military supply to mass consumption with the rise of the private motor car and things like that. And during the 1920s, British newspapers carried thousands of adverts depicting Persian landscapes and their history and their culture, like this one at slide 5. There we go. And they were all sponsored by BP. They were all promoting BP. And even BP's new headquarters that they had built in London, called Britannic House, featured sculptures of Iranian figures in traditional dress. Now, BP's reason for doing all of this was to normalize the idea that Western societies like Britain depended on energy from the Middle East, and that controlling those resources was paramount to their survival. Any means of protecting them was both necessary and justified. And one particular BP advertisement said, well, it even boasted, "Gone are the captains and kings, their citadels are crumbled to dust. We are the masters of Iran." So that was a boast that BP was putting out, that they were in charge of Iran. And this attitude went on to persist in the British establishment. Okay. Now, in 1925, the ruling dynasty of Iran was the Qajar dynasty, and they'd been around for quite a while, but they were ousted in a palace coup by Iran's former minister of war, a man called Reza Khan Pahlavi. Slide 6. And here's Pahlavi on his sort of inauguration, you might say. And he was able to do this with the help and support of the British, because they considered the current ruling Shah was too untrustworthy, too opulent, too greedy. And they wanted to put someone in that they could control. So they helped to install Reza Khan Pahlavi. Now, this isn't the Shah of Iran that people think of. This is his father. And
Glenn, I just want to say, the high rank of these people is unbelievable. This cunt started out as a fucking corporal.
Corporal, yeah.
In the Iranian military.
Bit like Hitler.
There's hope for every cunt, isn't there?
Yeah, indeed, yeah. Well, this guy set about what he said was modernizing the country. Now, nationalism was popular in Europe at this time, and nationalism was adopted as the model for Pahlavi. And what he said was his model for the way that he wanted to run the country was the fascist regime of Mussolini in Italy. And the idea of racial Aryan purity was actually also popular in the educated circles of Iran, and in the youth and in the officer classes. But Reza Shah's regime was extremely, almost completely controlled by the British. And by 1941, Britain and the Soviet Union were so concerned that Iran would slide, into Nazism, would side with Nazi Germany, that they actually staged a joint intervention, an invasion, basically. They staged an invasion of Iran, and on the British side, that was codenamed, ironically, Operation Consent. And Britain had already carried out a similar operation in Syria, and it had occupied it in the same year, 1941. Slide 7, please, Alex. And that operation was codenamed Operation Exporter, and it now joined forces with the Soviet Union to do the same in Iran. And here at slide 8, we can see a Soviet tank in Tehran. Okay. Britain's main reason for doing this was to ensure its oil supplies wouldn't fall into the hands of the Germans. And the Soviets, well, they did it to prevent what they considered was a strategic threat from what it saw as the creation of a Berlin, Ankara, Tehran axis. So a kind of Nazi, Turkish, Persian axis. Slide 9, please, Alex. And this is some of these sort of invasion plans showing where the Black Arrows, where the British went in. Now, by August 29th of 1941, the Shah ordered his troops to surrender, and Reza Shah himself abdicated on the 6th of September that year. And he was replaced by his son, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi. This is the Shah of Iran that people think of when they think of the Shah of Iran. Now, he was a thoroughly Anglicized Iranian who had been educated in Britain. The strange thing is that technically Iran had been a parliamentary democracy since 1906, and the Shah was only supposed to be a constitutional monarch. But its constitution, like any of these oil-producing countries where oil was discovered, was constantly undermined by coups and attempted takeovers, be they political or religious takeovers. And at one stage, Russia's military intervened again. Prior to the 1941 invasion, Russia intervened again militarily. Now, in 1908, there was also a civil war between royalist forces and constitutional militias. And that resulted in a victory for the constitutionalists. But it was this victory that established the Mejlis, which is Iran's parliament. But it wasn't really until the era of Mohammad Reza Shah that a new period of political liberalization sort of took place. And various parties, such as the constitutionalists, the Marxists, the Islamists, as well as nationalists, could operate freely. But Britain still controlled much of the Iranian government affairs, such as, well, they controlled transportation, economic policy, the selection of ministers, and of course, oil and energy production. So Britain still had a stranglehold. And following the withdrawal of Russian and British troops in 1946, one particular elder statesman and constitutionalist rose to prominence, and this was Mohammad Mossadegh, who we can see here at slide 10. Now, he was quite a strange character. He used to wear pajamas to public meetings and things like that. He was an odd kind of guy, but he led a coalition of nationalists and liberals. And Mossadegh was deeply committed to ridding Iran of the shackles of Britain's oil companies. And in 1951, he led Parliament to pass the legislation that nationalized Iran's oil. Now, this is probably where people start to become familiar with this story. And he created the National Iranian Oil Company. Now, this galvanized the country and led to Mossadegh being appointed prime minister. And Britain naturally responded with a global boycott of Iranian oil. And it actually then instituted a blockade that lasted up until 1954. And this caused inflation and revenue loss. But nevertheless, Mossadegh's population remained unshaken. And in 1952, he actually temporarily resigned when the Shah refused to grant him emergency powers. But only for a short period, because public demonstrations forced the Shah to beg him to come back, which he did. Now, Britain, having been ousted from Iran, turned to America, claiming Mossadegh was leading Iran towards communism. And so the infamous Operation Ajax was planned and executed. And, well, it was formulated by the CIA and MI6. And this was the coup that ousted Mossadegh. Now, the Shah was then reinstalled, and you probably know the rest of the story of how the Shah, free from democracy, irritating democracy, then went on to become a tyrant, but one that suited Britain and America's oil interests. Now, I'm not going to dive into the 1979 revolution, but it's absolutely clear that since that time, since the 79 revolution, particularly America has yearned for the day that a Western puppet Shah could be reinstalled. And here's the man himself. This is Mohammad Reza Shah's son. And once installed, that oil would be back. That oil would flow once again, and this time in America's control and to the benefit of America. So this is a large chunk of the reason why America is so interested in defeating Iran, in turning Iran into a failed state, reinstalling a favorable tyrant, and being able to once more pump Iran dry. Israel's motivations are different, but that's kind of the story behind why we are where we are. Okay, so I'll leave it there.
Absolutely brilliant, Glenn. Because you've got to know how things came about to understand why we're so fucked now.
Yeah.
I've taken some notes while you were speaking, and I wasn't being disrespectful at the end. I just did a little experiment. In the last hour or so that we've been on air, Iran's just destroyed Israel's steelmaking abilities. And it's just destroyed Israel's fertilizing making capabilities. Trump apparently is all in on an invasion of Iran once. Total victory. And Russia has just destroyed what was left of the Ukrainian gas industry. There's only one way this is going, people, and at this point, if people can't fucking see it, I really don't know what to say. So now, let's turn to how dark it's fucking actually getting. Israel is on the point of becoming country 404 even before Ukraine does. I mean, literally, the very existence of Israel as a nation state is now threatened. And for the record, let's just accept that, like your war, Glenn, Iraq did not have weapons of mass destruction. I saw a meme, wish I'd fucking stolen it now, of Abraham Lincoln reading a newspaper, and the headline says, Iran to get nuclear bomb within fucking weeks.
About the size of it.
You know, I mean, the initial Gulf War in the 90s. We had Iraqi babies being thrown out of incubators. Sorry, Kuwaiti babies being thrown out of incubators. A nurse told us that until we discovered she wasn't really. She was the fucking daughter of the ambassador of Kuwait to the US of A. Never fucking stopped foot in the country for fucking years. Now, never hear clear his big idea to solve the problem is he's authorized the mighty British fucking Navy. So mighty we've just had to borrow a frigate from Germany, by the way. You couldn't make it up.
No.
But he's authorized the mighty British Navy, which can't stop small boats by their fucking thousands. He's authorized them to start seizing Russian tankers. And now, God knows where he's going to refine it because Miliband's shutting down our last refinery. But, you know, at least he'll have a Russian tanker or two. You got to have a tanker or two. To trade somewhere on the world fucking stage.
Steal it.
And, you know, I mean, Russia's obviously, they're not going to do fuck all about that, are they? No. Hey, what's a tanker, man?
Hmm.
You know, Agenda 2030 and Albert Pike's letter and everything that we've seen in between. You know, we were told there'd be a third world war. We're in it.
Yeah.
I've warned about it till I've laughed and I've cried and I've wailed. Hey, it is what it fucking is, people. I told you. Trying to stop this went out the window a long time ago. Alex, have you got something else to bring us, or am I imagining it?
No, I have in a way, and it kind of started like from that date I gave to a group last night, but it didn't really have a title except as it came together. It came up to the point of why everything the West believes about Iran is wrong, and it's kind of the idea that there was never a chance of the West winning this war. They've never understood what they're doing. They've never understood what they're attempting to do. And that's not going to translate to the results that they wanted. And I'm not talking about weapons of mass destruction, the lies, the propaganda. I've been calling people out on the news posts and saying, oh, this sounds like another Kuwaiti ambassador's daughter since this started, with the cutting out of uteruses and all the rest of the nonsense. But I'm not talking about that. It's been a comedy.
How many hundred fucking beheaded babies on October 7th?
Yeah. 40 and people supposedly 40 and people still are believing that lie even though they've had to backtrack it. But nobody ever reads backtracks. Nobody ever sees that side of it. And it's all been a comedy of errors. And it starts with right from the very beginning. The whole idea of decapitation strikes. The problem is, Iran is not a personalist regime. It's not a personality cult. It never has been. They want to consider it a dictatorship. I'm not even going to contend that point. Even if it is, it's not run by one person. It's a rank. It's a bit like, even if you take it that way, and we won't get into the democracy side and the president not being the supreme leader, but even if you take it that way, and even if you're saying it's run more as a monarchy, it's the king is dead, long live the king. It's not going to be creating a power vacuum by taking out the heads of state. That's one thing they never understood from the start. Not to mention, they took out an 80-something-year-old man who wasn't hiding, and not to mention the fact that they were never, there were layers and layers put in place ready for what they knew they would do. And then the problem is with those decapitation strikes, they've strengthened the unity of Iran. They don't understand the response it would have. They've strengthened the unity of Iran. They've not weakened the regime. And that comes back to the concept of martyrdom. That comes back to the very simple concept they should understand of people uniting against a common enemy. But the other thing they have done, because people are already, the world's people, not the leaders of the world, but the people of the world are already questioning Israel over Gaza. What they have done now is they have further delegitimized the US and Israeli regimes further by starting an illegal war, by assassinating people. They don't understand what they were doing, but that was their answer. That's what they fought, because they play from the same playbook. The other bit they're wrong about, the other bit they don't understand, is the connection to the axis of resistance, or what they like to try and term as the axis of evil. And they believe they'd weakened that axis before they attacked Iran. And the reason they believe that is because your proxies of Iran, or what they consider Iran's proxies, you've got Hezbollah, and they've been striking continuously Lebanon. They've tried to invade on a couple of occasions on the ground Lebanon. You've got Hamas, you've got the slaughter in Gaza, you've got the so-called peace plan and the movement to disarm Hamas. You've got Ansar Allah, and they've been bombing and attacking Yemen, even though they've kind of run from them at least once in the scenario. And then you've got the PMF, and you've got Qatari Hezbollah in Iraq, and the other groups in that way. And they believe to a certain degree that they've weakened them through the what's gone on in Syria and the regime change in Syria. But the problem is that scenario is wrong to start with. Every time they bomb babies and children, they drive people into the arms of these groups. They've not defeated Hamas in Gaza. They've not defeated Hezbollah in Lebanon. They certainly haven't defeated, well, I call them the Houthis because that's what the press insists on calling them. They've certainly not defeated them. Like I say, they've already run from them once when they were taking out everything in the Red Sea, and basically they managed to propaganda that. They managed to pass that off as an agreement, as a negotiated agreement, but they effectively got their ships out of there. But they've not only not weakened them, they don't understand what they are, because they're not regular troops. They've never been regular troops. You want to call them terrorist organizations, call them freedom fighters, but they're not regular troops. It's more a guerrilla force. And the other thing is, they don't understand the connection. They don't understand the relationship. Hamas doesn't always agree with Iran, for one, especially on Syria. They were not always on the same page. They want to see them as being Iran's proxies in the same way that they have their own with al-Qaeda and the funding that's gone behind some of the other groups over the years. But they're not the same connection to Iran as that. And the other thing is that they don't want to necessarily use them. They don't need at the moment to use them. But they think they've weakened that support. The point is, if Iran does ask, that support will suddenly be back there. And it doesn't even need to, because it has places like Pakistan, it has places like North Korea, it has places that have a lot more regular troops that could send them. So they don't understand that. But the other thing they don't understand is the people. Sorry, that was the comment I was going to make about Yemen and the other straits that they could very easily close again if they chose to. But they don't understand the people of Persia. They've been used to living under sanctions. They've been used to being isolated. They are resilient. And the big picture here is the people of Iran, the real Iran. The picture, small pictures to the right, is how the West has portrayed the people of Iran. And I'm not getting into whether people have any right. And a woman, to me, if they choose to wear the burqa or whatever, that is their choice. But it's not the whole of Iran. The way they portray Iran is not the reality. They don't understand the people. They don't understand what they're used to. And they don't understand that their leaders, just like Russia, have an approval rating higher than any democratically, quotes democratically, elected leader in the West. The people are behind. And yes, you will have dissidents. Of course you will. You have in any country. But in general, and especially after the decapitation strikes, the people are behind their leadership. But Sun Tzu said, when you don't, if you want to win, I'm paraphrasing badly, but if you want to win, you need to know your enemy, but you also need to know yourself. And the problem is they don't know themselves either. They don't understand the people of Israel, the people of America, because they do not have the levels of resilience that the Iran does. You can see everywhere now people screaming because they've been hit by Iran, because the bombs are running down on Tel Aviv. You can see all of that, and you can see the hypocrisy in it when you think what they've done to Gaza for years. But they don't have the resilience of Iran. They don't understand their people. They don't understand their military capabilities. You've got, as Ian's already mentioned, the chief of staff saying that the IDF are on the verge of collapse. They're struggling for people. They don't have the manpower. We've heard this with Ukraine for so long, but nor does the IDF
Sorry,
anymore.
Alex. Alex, let me interrupt up for 1 second. Jason Gabriel, you're gone. Donald, if you're in the chat, get rid of the bastard. And others, just continue to take in what you're being told. Thanks, Alex. Continue.
No worries. And they've tried to rectify this. They cancelled the exemption for the ultra-Orthodox community back in 2024. But apparently, in many ways, this has not actually been put in. This has not actually been activated. Despite that resolution, they're still not pushing it. And there's a reason behind that, is because a lot of the backing that Netanyahu has in the coalition have elements that would withdraw that support if they push too hard along those lines. And that could leave them without a majority, without a coalition to keep in power. But they're stretched too thin. You can't keep attacking every country in existence without stretching yourself too thin. To the point that you've had over this last week, you've had Trump resorting to his usual level of playground bully by announcing that Supreme Leader is probably gay. This is where we've got with Trump, but that's not surprising. We shouldn't be surprised. Oh, and he's going to rename the Straits of Hormuz the Straits of America. Somebody said, is that a joke? Well, the problem is it's impossible to know with Trump what's serious in his head and what's a joke anymore. But he doesn't understand the people. The West do not understand the people. And they don't understand Iran's military capabilities. We've destroyed 100%. If you've destroyed 100%, how are they still striking you? We destroyed 100% of everything, he said the other day. And then he said, I think it was yesterday, we've only got 5,534 targets left. Yeah, that's quite a few. If you've destroyed them all, how do you have 5,534 targets left? And they don't understand the job of trying to destroy them because a hell of a lot of those launchers or whatever are underground and are not places they can
those 5,000 targets, Alex, are the primary schools left in Iran.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. But nothing adds up, and we know it doesn't add up. But the point is beyond it not adding up. They don't understand the capabilities. They never did, and they don't understand. They worked on Russia in their head, or I believe they worked on Russia in their head on thinking that Iran would not engage on the propaganda war. Iran is playing along with the propaganda war. For every video the US puts out, Iran is putting out videos with Lego Netanyahu's running, accompanied by rats deserting the ship. They're playing the propaganda war that kind of Russia never really bothered with. And they've underestimated their ability on the economic war. And we've talked about the economics, we've talked about the Straits. I'm not going to go over that again. But they don't realise, pretty much, they didn't realise what Iran had the power in closing the Straits. They didn't think they would do it for one, but they didn't realise that in doing so, they can now have half the world, or the world who still wants to traverse through the Straits is nowhere near half yet. But the people who still want to transverse are now having to buy in basically Chinese yuan. They're having to expel ambassadors. They've effectively collapsed the petrodollar by changing the currency. They've effectively unsanctioned themselves and undone the sanctions by charging people $2 million a pop to take a container trip through. They've missed their power to pledge to fight economic war. Trump, with all his tariffs, is still missing the point. And the other thing they overestimated is the West's military capabilities. They still think we have a military that can do anything, and it doesn't. They don't realise that shock and awe is dead. Shock and awe doesn't work anymore. The West is not the world's police anymore. The rest of the world is not going to just sit back, take the rap over the knuckles, and suddenly behave. And the other thing that's dead is naval power in the traditional sense. Or was that really a laundry fire? Because I
hit from 17 directions at once, Trump said we had to get out of there.
Yeah. That was a lot of directions from the laundry, isn't it, really? Yeah. No. Naval power, or certainly surface naval power, it can't maneuver fast enough. It can't get out of there fast enough. They're underestimating where the world is in conflict.
Stop it.
And they overestimated the rest of the West's willingness to get involved. And we will. We are already. We already have American bombers flying from Fairford. We already have. We're boasting on the Secretary of Defense, whatever it is. It's come up on it keeps coming up on my socials now, and we're boasting how many defense missions we're flying in the Middle East. We will get involved, but there's been less willingness to get involved than Trump wanted in Trump.
The little Inky Clark from Gringotts, I know who you mean.
Yeah.
Isn't it amazing how much Netanyahu looks like Dobie the house elf, by the way? Just saying.
Excellent. I can't go and see that one now either. The point is where all these underestimations, overestimations, their understanding of the country is flawed, it's missing, and they've got to a point that there's no answer because there's only two answers from where they are. One is that they surrender, that they accept defeat. And if they do, Iran will not play the propaganda game. They will not allow them to pass it off as a victory. Whatever arrangement agreement was made at the end of the so-called 12 days war, Iran are not going to play ball this time. Trump said, we've made positive advances. We've made positive direction in the talks. Iran said, you haven't spoken to us. They're going to call it out. Anything they say now, they are going to call out. So his option is to accept that they've lost or to put boots on the ground and drag it on, which is going to make it even worse. You've got two. Oh, hang on, that's the thing. You've got two options as I see it. You're going to have a lot of American troops coming back in body bags, or it's going to go something worse and someone's going to reach for a nuclear button. And if neither of those happen, then the very least we're looking at is going to be Mad Max.
Yeah, pretty spot on. God, do I miss the good old days. That weren't that long ago. Remember when, was it the Scottish Daily Mail did their last hit piece on me? And crazy conspiracy theorists, independence, radical plans, and insurrection. If only. Because I warned about World War III and I had all these bunkers everywhere. God, I wish I did. Yeah, they totally underestimated. Hezbollah, Alex, are going into battle in southern Lebanon wearing their death shrouds. Now, that's sending a very clear message, isn't it?
Yeah.
I will die, but I will kill fucking you. It's a
I
bit
don't
like,
think they understand resistance. They don't understand resistance. Resistance isn't squashed by killing people. For every resistance
no,
fighter you kill, three more take their place. For every baby you kill, for every pregnant woman you kill, you are creating the resistance. And so that's why they decided to go for, we can't squash the resistance. We'll squash the leadership. They don't understand that
mm,
either. They don't understand
mm,
how these things work. And I'm not surprised because fucking America is hemorrhaging generals like a leaky sieve. Hegseth himself said, we're not interested in experience, we're interested in loyalty. We don't care I'm not bothered. As long as you're loyal to Trump, that's all that matters. 12 of them walked out last September and they've been hemorrhaging them ever since. These people don't know what to do. They do not know what to do. Sorry about that.
no, you're right. No, Glenn, never be sorry. This is what it's all about. Yeah. Um, to our big Irish following out there, but it's to the whole world, really. These guys are the real warrior poets now that I say we used to be. Well, you know, mm, Here's a verse from a song that I love, and it's about the troubles in Northern Ireland or in Ireland. Full stop. And it's like eh, those that went to fight in Spain against the fascists. They had a fighting spirit. They knew what was right and what was wrong. Well, if only in this day and age I could have gathered about me the spirit of people like these. A brave Irish seaman came marching up our street. 600 British soldiers he'd lined up at his feet. Come out, ye cowardly Fenians, come out and we'll fight. But he cried I was only joking when he heard my arm alight. And it's down in the Falls Road, that's where I long to be. Lying in the dark with my Provo company, a comrade on my left, another one on my right, and a clip of ammunition for my little Armalite. If only we could have mounted that global revolution. If only I had a comrade on my left and a comrade on my right, and a clip of ammunition for a little Armalite. It's too late. Take a look around you at this world you've come to know. Remember that it was just a crazy circus show. I don't know. Maybe from the ashes, something beautiful can grow. But you're in brave new world territory now, people. And make no mistake. And because, and Glenn, oh, Alex, get rid of Jason Gabriel.
Yeah, I'm just going to.
Thank you. No, Jason, you don't get free speech because you're a genocidal, Zionistic fucking maniac. So fuck it off. Out of life, out of existence. I hope an Iranian fucking drone falls on your fucking head any moment. Bye.
I think people get the wrong impression here. I think people imagine that we're here to be popular, that we're here to put fucking likes, to have little hearts put, and we don't ask for fuck all. If you don't agree with us, fuck off.
Yeah,
it's too late. It's too late for anything else. We're here to tell you the truth.
We're not like Galloway begging for 1 million subscriptions on fucking YouTube so you can get more money to go fucking cavaliering round the world, living in 5-star fucking hotels, while little granny fucking nobody in fucking Manchester has a direct debit on his Patreon. No, we're not like that. You can fuck off. If you don't want to listen, you don't want to learn, you can fuck off. This is going nuclear, isn't it, Clint?
Yeah. To be honest, that's Israel is being backed into a corner. And when Israel's backed into a corner, then like a cornered rat, they become very dangerous. And Israel's bristling with nuclear weapons. So the chances of that happening are increasing every day. Every single day that Iran pounds Tel Aviv, every single day they attack, their nuclear facilities like Dimona. Every time they cut off another tentacle, then that creature gets more dangerous. And so the chances of it going nuclear, I think, are increasing exponentially every day. So I couldn't guarantee that it will, but
yeah, and then all bets are
Yeah.
off. You know what I mean?
No, yeah.
And the thing is this, in this one show, people, we have literally, we did months of shows about the octopus. Poor old Danny Casolero and the others trying to warn.
Yeah.
Who have been murdered, suicided, shut up, condemned, killed. Wish I'd looked this up now. Alex, perhaps you can. Kirsty Moore. Zappo, Van Zappo. Van Zappo. That's a ballad, I think. See if you can find the words to it. The tentacles of this octopus are rooted in millennia old. They're everywhere. The British state has been at the heart of it throughout the ages, from the Elizabethan first tendrils of the British Empire. We have, despite having to give up that empire after Suez, despite controlling Washington after World War II through Bretton Woods, London, the golden fucking mile. The industrial capital, Lloyd's, the financial capital of the world. Well, the rest of Britain fucking has dilapidated. And then you have our deletes, our Epstein class, from the cunt who calls himself king downwards. Did you find it, Alex? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. We've got something coming up, Sacco and Vansetti.
That's the one, Sacco and Vansetti. That's a fucker. Bring up those lyrics and read them, please.
Okay. Let me find a better version that's got all. Have to be that one.
All right. We've not got fucking £1 million studios in the background with researchers running to do this.
We've got Alex.
We've got Alex. And she's a damn sight better than Alice. Alice? Who the fuck is Alice?
Yeah.
Okay, I've got. Oh, say there, did you hear the news? Sacco worked at trimming shoes. Vansetti was a travelling man, pushed his cart round with his hand. Two good men's a long time gone. Sacco and Vansetti are gone. Two good men's a long time gone. They left me here to sing this song. Sacco was born across the sea, somewhere over in Italy. Vansetti, born of parents fine, drank the best Italian wine. Sacco sailed the sea one day, landed over in Boston Bay. Vansetti sailed the ocean blue, ended up in Boston too. Sacco was a family man. Sacco's wife 3 children had. Vansetti was a dreaming man. His books were always in his hand. Sacco made his bread and butter, being the factory's best shoe cutter. Vansetti worked both day and night, showed the people how to fight. I'll tell you if you ask me about the payroll robbery. 2 clerks were shot in the shoe factory on the streets of Old Braintree. I'll tell you the prosecutors' names. Katzman, Admonds, Williams, Kane. Them and the judge were the best of friends, did more tricks than circus clowns. The judge, he told his friends around, he'd put them rebels down. Communist bastards were the name the judge he gave these 2 fine men. Vansetti docked in 98, slept along a dirty street, showed the people how to organise. Now in the electric chair he dies. All as people ought to be like Sacco and Vansetti. Every day find ways to fight on the union side for the workers' right. I ain't got time to tell the tales because the branch and the bulls are on my fail. I won't forget these men who died to show us people how to live. All you people in Window Lane, sing this song and sing it plain. Everybody here tonight, singing this song will get it right.
There we go, people. I've always told you I'm a rebel to the core. I'm the last fucking Jacobite. I'm the last man willing to raise arms against the British state, if anyone would stand with me. What's going to happen here on in is countries are going to become insular. They are going to pull the COVID laws. They're going to pull the emergency laws. They're going to lock you down tighter than you can ever imagine. Mass unemployment means they're going to give a universal basic income. It will all be digitized. You will get your ration through that digitized universal basic income. You will be expected, if called upon, to enlist in the armed forces, to go into Orwell's 1984 Third World War, with shifting alliances and shifting truths. They will continue to launch economic warfare, biological warfare, even atomic warfare upon us until they achieve their population reduction and their total chaos. Where, however, few of us or you remain alive, they will offer security under a boot and on your bended knee, you will say, yes, please give us your new world order. Alex.
Yeah. It's, I don't know why I laugh on a thing because it's not because anything's funny and it's not because anything's untrue. It's because it's too true and there's just no answer to where we are in this world. It's not going any way that's getting better. And people can't even agree. People can't even agree whether it's happening. People can't even agree that we are where we are. People can't even get past the patriotism that they're stuck with. They argue because you said because we say the US did this. If they listen, they know we say the UK did this as well. It's not an us and them, but that line of division, that line of divide is so ingrained in people's heads that they cannot shift the programming. The same they're doing with the whole immigration thing. The line of divide is there, so deeply etched that everybody are resorting to that programming. And that's the problem, because as soon as the buttons hit, as soon as we get to a point that desperation kicks in, people will resort, or their belief at least is that people will resort to the way they've programmed them. And none of that is going to be to the good. I wish people would have stood. I wish we could have sorted this before. But people just did not have the guts. So they followed the lies that they chose to believe, from trust the plan to raise your vibrations onwards, when all it would have been is a lot simpler if we could have done something. But nobody ever wanted to act.
Glenn?
Yeah. I don't know where we are right now is I think perhaps where we were always going. We were always heading in this direction. We were always going this way. Nations were just too full of their own hubris, their own importance. Look at America, for God's sake. America thinks it owns the world, and it's got the right to tell everyone else what to do. You will behave in a certain way, a way that we don't have to behave in. And what we've seen since the war on Gaza started is the total collapse of any pretense of international order, the total collapse of any intention to abide by the pie in the sky laws and rules that we wrote for ourselves after the horrors of World War II. We imagined that was perhaps the war to end all wars. Well, where have we been since World War II? Constantly at war in one place or another. And the main culprit of instigating those wars has been America, driven by Israel and supported by lapdogs like the UK. And we have systematically gone around the world imposing this our supposed civilized Western ideas upon people, which has resulted in country after country after country becoming failed states. Now, from Israel's point of view, that's exactly what they want. They want to be surrounded by failed states because they want to be the powerhouse of the Middle East. They don't even want the oil to be going through the Straits of Hormuz. They want it to be coming through pipelines across Israel. And that will make Israel a superpower because they will put levies on that oil and they will control that oil. And that's what they want. And this is all part of this stupid Greater Israel project. And it's why we're seeing what's going on in Lebanon right now. What really, really stuns me in Lebanon is the fact that the Lebanese army are standing to one side. They're not doing anything. They are protecting Christian and Druze villages, and the Israelis are going round them at the minute. Well, if they expect that to last forever, then they've a shock coming, because the Israelis will just turn back on them once they've finished. I hope they want to go all the way and take about a third, all the way up to the river Levine, I think it's called. And this is what we're seeing: expansionism, destruction, and the lack of any kind of moral order anymore. So yeah, filter that down to ordinary life. Now, at the minute, we've still got some semblance of normality. People are going about their daily businesses. People are taking out financial contracts on fucking Range Rovers they can't afford. Everything, all of that will crash down once the consequences of this war really starts, and things will go bad quickly. So, but that was always going to be the case, because this is the end of empire. We are at the end of this system of things, and after this, things will be different. I have no doubt, because like COVID had 2 weeks to flatten the curve. I think this is 3 weeks to flatten the fucking economy, to flatten the world, to drag us into this new state where, just as you say, Ian, we will beg for their crumbs. So I'd like to be more optimistic. I am an optimistic person. I like to see the glass as half full. Well, this one isn't. But I'm rapidly losing the ability to see any goodness in this world, to see any hope. And it really, well, it fucking well upsets me. Well, there you go.
The other thing is, to be honest, Glenn, I don't have the time to go into. We are in climatic collapse. We are in a fifth great extinction level event. We have meteorites falling all through the world, and some of them aren't falling. We have the drones, we have the orbs, there is so much shit going on. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Nemesis is incoming. I've always said it. And people, for at least a decade, have bombarded me with, should I bag out now? When should I bag out? When should I do whatever? And Glenn, I've been trying to be optimistic. I've been, over the last shows, I've been saying, live your life, don't give up, plan. Today's the day. If you can, make your preparations, people. You've got 3 weeks. It's the final countdown. With that, Alex, any last thoughts for the audience? And plug tonight if you're doing tonight.
Yeah. What last thoughts can we have beyond that point? It kind of becomes when you say last thoughts in that setup, it becomes the fact that it may very well be the last thoughts that we can give very soon, because we may not be able to broadcast much beyond that. But be ready, be prepared. Stop burying your heads in the sand. Stop squabbling over minutiaes. Stop worrying about fucking free speech when you're trying to echo a living out of nothing. Free speech is going to be fucking irrelevant. Stop worrying about the things that are no point to. Stop worrying what shape the fucking earth is. You'll know. Stop worrying about whether nuclear weapons exist, because you're fucking going to know you're likely to fucking know they're going to pretty soon. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is survival. Knowledge is maybe all we'll be left with soon. So get some now. We will be back at 8 p.m. tonight. I don't know what we'll be talking about yet, but we will be back and we'll see you there.
Glenn, last thoughts?
Yeah. I'm just looking out the window. Yeah, and just outside my window, there are trees and bushes, and it's spring. And they're all bursting back into life. And just behind us there's a little park, and the kids are playing in it, oblivious to all of this. And that's how I want things to stay.
I know, brother. I know. No one would have believed in the last days of the 20th century. That's how War of the Worlds starts. No one would have believed. I always said I can't sugarcoat things. I can't come along with unicorns farting fucking candy balls. I can only tell you of what it is. And like Glenn, the boss and I look out of our picture window onto the woods, as we've done for years now, as we've watched the turning of the seasons, the dog walkers and the birds and the wildlife and the deer. And this is our last spring, watching those leaves go green. We've already planned 2 weeks' time, our last weekend here. We're going to have ourselves a big old steak dinner, open a bottle of champagne that's worth a couple £100, and think about all the good times that we've had here. Remember the good times, people. Hold them in your heart. And fight for your children the way you fought for fucking toilet roll when they were full of shit. Oh well. Anything you want to say, Alex or Glenn, before we end the broadcast?
I think we are where we are, Ian, and we've told people what the reality is. I hope we're wrong. I hope you're wrong. There we are. So.
Glenn, I've always hoped I'm wrong. Alex?
Not really anything to add, to be fair.
It was good while it lasted. We had joy, we had fun, we had seasons in the sun.
The Hawaiian song.
Like the seasons are all gone. I played that incessantly after my mum died. Hey ho. It is what it is, people. And being a Jacobite, yes, we can't be bought. We can't be bribed. We won't be bullied. nor will we crumble even in the face of the inevitable. You will stand, shoulders up, chest out, stomach in. You will fucking stand. You will be the anchors. You will be the flags. You will be the bulwark that will gather round you. Those you need to protect. Warriors that need to defend. And those that you will need to kill to survive. You want to know what I did? I raised a clan that's worldwide. And no matter what happens, yes, there will be survivors. And if there is, it's because there'll be Jacobins. Alex Glenn, looking forward to your show tonight. We are a trio, a triumvirate. And if this was our last broadcast, I don't think it could have been better. Thank you, my friend. To the rest of you, do me a favour now. Just go fuck it off and do what I told you. Stand at ease. Alex, end the broadcast, please.